This is the guy who did it. So
in the flesh, but
eight Comrades Marathon wins on the bands from 1981 onwards, is that right? Another Comrade win as well. I think 30 Comrades finishes altogether, which is a record, right? And
no,
is it not a record? I think, okay.
I'm a junior, I'm a youngster.
Sorry, I'm overblowing him. But he's here, right? And come up from South Africa just for our festival, which I found just staggering. So I'm very proud to welcome Mr. Bruce Fordyce.
Even though it's only 55 miles or 90 kilometers, you owe yourselves just one experience at least of the greatest mass participation ultra in the world, and deep admiration for all of the talks that I've heard, but it is the complete opposite. You know, that 20,000 people run this ultra, that there is live television coverage for 13 hours on the day, and that the whole country comes to a standstill to watch it. So it's an extraordinary thing. Nonetheless, I feel a little bit like an imposter in your company, because I am really just in the kind of opening bracket of ultra marathoning. I just scrape in. The furthest distance I have ever gone is 100 kilometers, and I'm done and dusted after 6 hours. You know, that's it. I mean, that's it. And the following day, I'm toast. I mean, I'm walking like this. So to wake up the next day and do another is just not how I do things.
That's a 6 hour 100k though, isn't it?
620 or something, yeah. Okay. I hate trail, so that's already. I don't hate bog and that stuff. I loathe that stuff. I can't do it. I love the road. I need to have road under my feet, or maybe a bit of track. I did some track running in my time, not very particularly well. I'm just checking that I don't leave something out. And I love the cut and thrust of racing. That's the background that I come from. I love 10 guys together in a lead pack, and let's sort this out, guys. And 3 minutes 35 a K, you know, and let's go. So it's a completely different world. And so I've absolutely loved these talks because, of course, they come from the kind of the closing bracket of ultraman. But there is no closing bracket, I've realized, because eventually, I don't know, one of you guys is going to go around the world or something, or I don't know. It's amazing, but I will never get to that, I can say. However, it's very appropriate that I'm here today in June, because, and I'm going to take this, by the way, is a wonderful event. This great man, I once nearly missed a plane flight from Port Elizabeth back to Johannesburg, and I got there having run an ultra that was only 60 Ks, and I got to the airport as they were closing the flight, and the check-in lady said to me, "I'm sorry, but you've actually missed the flight." And I had these big wide eyes, because you don't want to spend a weekend in Port Elizabeth if you can avoid it. You'd rather be, sorry, I hope there's nobody here. And so I needed to get on that plane, and she looked at me and said, "But you know what, we've got a VIP, and you can board with the VIP, because I see you've only got one bag." She said, "Go into the VIP lounge and you can board with him." And it was Nelson Mandela. And so the two of us walked, and by the way, what a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. He had one bodyguard and his daughter. In Africa now, where there are entourages of 10 kilometers of vehicle and flashing blue lights, and the more tin pot the dictator, the bigger the entourage of cars and machine guns and things are following. One bodyguard and his daughter, and he sat in economy class. Okay, so now the VIP comes out last, and the whole plane is boarded, and the plane's on the tarmac, on the apron there, and we're walking across the tarmac. All the people are looking through the windows. He looks at me and he says, "Bruce, I bet all the people in the plane are saying, who's that funny grey-haired guy with the famous Bruce Fordyce?" Okay, so I wore this on purpose. This, by the way, is the rugby jersey of one of the great rugby nations of the world. Okay, I wore it on purpose, first of all, to tease you. But I understand there's a New Zealander here, so...
I'm from Canterbury as well.
We're going to get you this year. Okay, so I wore it on purpose because I owe rugby this, and I owe this to myself. almost exactly, it's next week, almost exactly 40 years ago, I took my first running steps. And so in a sense, I think that I am an ultramarathoner like you. And what I fear for some of you is that the greatest gift you can give yourself is running. And the greatest gift I gave myself was on an evening, June the 18th, which is 2 days after a major significant event in South Africa, June the 16th, when the young students went and protested about having to be taught in Afrikaans, and they were shot at and killed. Won't go into the politics of that. But I might just say, but it was a very significant day, and I was a student.
What year was that one?
1976. It's 40 years ago.
Okay.
June the 18th, and I ran, and I decided, I don't know why, I just decided that my project, it's the same for all of us. I think a project jumps into your mind, a challenge jumps into your mind, and you can't get it out. And my project was to do this ridiculous race called the Comrades Marathon. And so I started, my first run was 5 minutes around my university rugby field. So that's why I'm running this. And I ran for 5 minutes at night, and then I walked for another 5 minutes, and I coughed and I spluttered, horribly unfit. And that was the start of the greatest gift that I could ever have given myself. I promise you, to have given myself that gift. And my fear with people who go extreme is, will you be there in 40 years' time? Because I want to still be running in 20 years' time. And the way I've done that is to race selectively and carefully plan, lots of recovery time and not too much. That's how I've done it. I'm a great believer in the major peak for one big hit where you get everything out of it. And so to me, Comrades has been my mistress and my lover. And if I devote everything to that race, she has given me the rewards every single time. No distractions, nothing else. Comrades in my day. So, for those of you who are tempted, I can show you, and this is, I'm not joking, that's it. You do a 10K and you get a glittering thing with diamonds, that's it.
It's like the Ashes.
Well, I love it. It's like the Ashes. It's understated. It's like the Victoria Cross. It's understated. But it says so much. It says Durban to Pietermaritzburg. It has Mercury, Hermes on it, the winged messenger, and the gold and black stripes of the Comrades
Which
Marathon
year is that one
Association.
from?
2007. And so maybe in another sense I'm not an imposter in your company, because also when you've done 10 of them, you keep your number forever. They retire your number, so to speak. So my number is 2403, and you get a number with a wreath under it, and it's quite a status symbol, so I thought I would just show off by showing you this one. So that's 30. Okay, and I'm a junior. Dave Rogers done 45. And it's an astonishing race with lots of traditions, lots of wonderful stories. And so what I thought I would do, and it's not because I'm opting out or copping out, but what we would do, rather than have me stand here and bore you just talking about it, is to show you. It's about 30 minutes, that's all. And we've tried to trim out all the talking heads and people like that. You may not understand the accent at times at South Africa, but and this is the why Comrades are going, and the person doing the voiceover here is Phil Liggett, more famous for being the Tour de France cyclist. He's finally realized that running is much more important. Okay, so we'll show that, and then what I'll do is jump up afterwards and do, so you don't have to panic, those of you who, whatever, maybe another 15 minutes chatting, just some ideas, and then any questions that you might have. Ladies, you will notice that in the 1980s, I was gorgeous. It's gone. I had long flowing blonde hair. I was not a single bit of color. The blonde is real, natural, ash blonde, gorgeous. Okay. I don't know what's happened. Luckily, Jilly still likes me. Okay, so yeah, let's run it. Yeah.
In Flanders,
to black runners, but sharp-eyed. Some of you who are sharp-eyed might have noticed they did, but it was still a humiliation because they made the black runners wear their ethnic tags underneath the number. So in other words, what they said is that they declared it an international race. It wasn't a South African, it's an international race, and these are not South Africans, even though they live in South Africa, they come from the homeland. So they had to run wearing a tag underneath saying Sutu or Zulu or Xhosa, wherever they came from. So the students who ran at the time, I wasn't running in 75, to show how ridiculous this was, wore tags underneath saying English, Scottish, or whatever their origins were, because it was just insane. And in my first winning comrades, for me, I was the saddest and most unhappy winner of the comrades ever, because in that year they decided to make the comrades, the nationalist government, apartheid government, decided to make the Comrades Marathon part of the Republic Day apartheid celebrations. So they had tank parades and soldiers, it's like something straight out of Moscow. And they included a number of sporting events, and the comrades, in my opinion, sold its soul for 5,000 rand to be part of those celebrations, and they ignored that in this thing. So those of us who disagreed, many withdrew, but those of us who disagreed wore black armbands. And I had a black armband on that day, protesting against the decision to align the race with a political party, and I was one of the most unpopular winners in the history of the race. I was booed the whole way, and I got hit by quite a few tomatoes and eggs and stuff. And in retrospect, it's my proudest ever win, because looking at, some of you guys fought through bogs and over. Some of you guys fought through bogs and against headwinds and stuff like that. You have no idea what it's like to lead a race where everybody hopes you're going to fail, and they're booing you, and so I was a very unhappy winner. But it's amazing how winning eventually makes people like you. So by the time I got to the third one, it was okay. The second thing that upsets me a lot is the bitter subject of prize money. Even in pathetic rands, it's 400,000 rand now. Okay, if you win, times 9. If you break the record, it's 1 million rand. Times 5. I'm not upset. The other day,
is that in pounds?
it's a million is still.
Divide by 20?
Yeah, but it's 50,000.
It's still a lot,
yeah, times 5. But the other day, by the way, I've got a gammy knee at the moment. But 2 Septembers ago, I won a race in Johannesburg, the Gerald Fox Zoo 10K. Okay, so you understand the gravity and the importance of that race. I didn't actually break the tape, but I crossed the line, and I was sort of standing there gasping on my hands and knees, and an official came over to me and said, "Fordyce, you better stay behind afterwards for the prize giving, because we think you've won the Masters over 50 section." Okay, 100 rand. Divide by 20. But my entry fee was 50 rand. Okay, that's my prize money. I thought what I would do, and then maybe I'll open it up for questions, but just to say the way we train is, the way the leading runners train is more or less like a leading marathon runner would train, except we throw in a couple more long runs done very slowly. So we might run a 30-miler, but we don't even bother to look at the stopwatch or the watch. We're more concerned with how much time we spend on our legs, because that should try and get that, to copy what's going to happen on race day. A lot of speed work. So I spent a lot of time, I doubt there's many people here who put spikes on, but I did a lot of track running, kind of B-league races. And there's something really scary. I don't know what it is about track, but when you get out there and they call you to the start line, and they put you in a position, you've got a number stuck on your leg as well. That really scary stuff. I don't know why it's like that, but 30 seconds before the gun goes, you need desperately to pee. It's just one of those things, and it's chaos, but it works very well. So speed was very important for us. And then a controversial subject, but it's sweeping South Africa: fat. We are running on fat. And there is a book that every single runner should have in their library. And it's written by a muscular academic, and I'm calling him muscular not because of his body, but because of what he's done. He's done 7 comrades, 15 2 oceans, lots of marathons, called Professor Tim Noakes. And the book is called The Real Meal Revolution. Get it and change your life. Vegans, I'm very sorry, but this is a serious book about changing your life, and it flies directly in the face of medical science and what every dietitian will tell you. But he's right, in my opinion. He's changed my life. One of the problems for me as I started to slow down and to get less and less competitive was every single year I put on 1 kg. I got to 73 kgs. At the moment I'm probably, sorry, I don't do stone. No one in the rest of the world does stone. No one in the rest of the world understands. I would say something about, here's a big 17 stone rugby player. We're all sitting in the rest of the world saying, what are they? Big guy, small guy. From the voice, we go, big lad. Then we know 17 stone. We've got no idea. So we'd measure kg. So I got to 73 kgs. To the opinion of my non-running friend, and where's our last speaker? That revolting cheese.
No.
We are running marathons. You have 40,000 calories of fat, even the skinniest of us, packed around your middle to burn. And I loved it that I heard some of these people have no food, but I kept going. When you are carbohydrate dependent, all the time you try and eat carbohydrates. There are no pathetically few carbohydrates in our natural caveman Paleolithic existence. And these digestive systems have evolved over millions of years. And they're not supposed to be doing sugar and stuff. And it's very hard, but when you change your life, it is quite incredible how fantastic you feel. Your cholesterol goes up, and your doctor panics and wants to put you on a statin. So go away. I told Tim Noakes, my doctor read my blood. He said, Bruce, I'm putting you on a statin. Tim said to me, I'm jumping on a plane, paying my own air ticket to come to Johannesburg and punch you in the face if you take a statin. So I don't want to debate it now because there could be people who disagree with me. But if you're carbohydrate dependent, you have to run on carbohydrates. And so you have to keep fueling yourself on all this stuff all the time. Once you the Sherpas who take people up Everest, they make the hot chocolate and everything for the rich American who's paid $100,000 to summit, and they have yak's butter and tea and salt. And they're standing at the top like this saying, what do you think the tip will be? Lobsam Gurumumbus, Harapun second. I don't know, fairly wealthy American, maybe $100. Anyway, please, it's going to suit. Your doctor here is Dr. Asim Malhotra, and he is brilliant, and he's fighting a losing. They're making fat the enemy. Medical science and the food industry is making fat. So you get low-fat yogurt will kill you because they fill it up full of sugar. You go high-fat Greek, and then you have bacon and egg. It's the direct opposite. Anyway, I don't want to sound like an evangelist, but just read the book, okay? The Real Meal Revolution, and how to bring up super kids. It's astonishing. And they are right. And they know they're right because the conventional wisdom is panicking. The two greatest disasters to befall humankind was the invention of agriculture and the growing of wheat.
Bruce, what did you run on?
I ran in those days flat out carbohydrates, but not anymore. And of course, back in the 1980s, we pasta loaded the night before. Two greatest disasters, agriculture and start of farming, and we no longer were hunter-gatherers. And the second one was 1977, Dr. Ansel Keys, a vegan, wrote The Health Diet for America and single-handedly kick-started the diabetic obesity epidemic that's sweeping the world because it's wrong. But anyway, that's just read the book. And so, just so I can kind of end, and I don't know if anyone's got any questions, I just want to start off with two final little funny stories so I can end on a high and we can break and that's it. The first is I actually lied to you when I said the furthest that I have ever gone is 100 k's, because I recalled earlier that in fact I've done a 250k race, but it was an adventure race. So it doesn't really, because it wasn't running. It was it's in Swaziland, and it's the toughest thing I've ever done. But you have to cover 250 k's. They say go, and it's when you finish. So you just go, and you've got to get to various checkpoints to prove that you got there. I'm sure some of you have done this. You've got to clip the thing that you were there, and then your clip's got a different logo. And there's 4 of you, and you go, and we televise this thing, you see. And so you mountain bike, you walk, you run, you paddle, and it's all. And then you do this technical climb at the end where you have to climb a mountain. And so I did it with the 3 of us, and one of my great buddies who appears in a soapy in South Africa called David Flock. So he would be, I don't know what your soapies here, like Coronation Street or East Indies. He's like famous for being a really appalling actor in one of these things. Okay? But and the people hate him because he plays an absolute womanizing scumbag. That's his part, and people try and hit him in the street. He's got to have a bodyguard, and when they try and hit him, I always say, don't, he's an actor. He's not like that in real life. In real life, he's much, much worse. Hit him. Anyway, so we all trained to do this mountaineering stuff. We went to the university on a climbing wall and tried to practice so we at least have some competence. And you do it right at the end when you're completely broken and you've had 4 hours sleep in 3 days. I'm sure that's a luxury for some of you, but for me that's not nearly enough sleep. And we got to this major cliff face where it went up 100 meters, and then there was a tiny ledge as wide as this table where there was one guy who was sleeping in a pup tent whose job it was so you had to climb up the first bit using one technique, just a straight climb where you belayed and that, and I fell twice but my team caught me, and you got to this ledge. It was like 100 meters straight down. So this guy's one job was to instantly put a belt on you and clip you to a rail that was embedded in the mountain, because if you fell you would die, while you wait for your 3 teammates to join you. And then you had to do the second half of the climb, was another discipline where you use a thing called a juma, where you kind of winch your way up and your feet are in stirrups. It's a technique that you've got to learn, but my mate David didn't bother. And so the poor guy living in the pup tent, because the teams take like 2 days between the leaders and the last team, this poor guy had like a little bit of food and whatever, and quite a lot of Swaziland's most famous product, which is marijuana. Okay, and he was smoking quite a lot, but he was doing his job. He was clipping us in, and so I get up, and my mate Dave gets up, and he lost it. He just lost it. He said, "You Fordyce, so bloody slow. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of the fact you eat too much. You're useless." And he lost it completely. He said, "I'm going first on the Juma, so because I'm tired of waiting for you, because we'd only go one at a time." So now he starts the Juma, and he goes. And he goes as hard as he can, because that's the way he does everything in life, attack it. And Juma is technique, it's actually rhythm and technique, and you climb slowly, it winches you slowly up the sea. It's gone up that high. We've got 100 meters to go. And then we're all trying to help him. "No, Dave, it's not strength, it's rhythm." And he's just like, "I hate you," you know, when you all know, you know. And so he goes, another little bit like this. And eventually the guy whose job it was to clip us in takes one last, like, I don't know how to do it, by the way, but he was like one last hit, and he peels himself off and he says, "Hey Dave, like I don't want to interfere with your karma, and I can see you're not like in a good space, hey China, but just speaking personally, like wouldn't it help if you like unhooked yourself from the mountain?" Bang! So he had forgotten to. So we reckon he pulled Swaziland up. And my final story, and it's a comrade story, and I have to do this to tell the story. It's a divine story, and it's not mine, I've stolen it. In fact, I steal most of my stuff. My final story was Comrades Marathon about 3 years ago. We met a wonderful English guy from Grimsby. Okay, so I don't know, I've never lived in Grimsby, but he told this story. He was a docker, and he's a marathon runner, and a good marathon runner, sub 3 hours, and all his marathon running life, all he wanted to do was to run Comrades. But he had to save and save and save, and he saved up, and he studied the race, and he said, "Bruce, I studied the whole history of the race. I know more about you than you know about you." And he saved up, and eventually he came to Comrades. It's mind-boggling. And by the way, it's the most incredible, and then if you spend £5 more, you can go on a safari and go to Cape Town for another £5. And we're desperate for pounds. And he said he got there and he'd never seen anything like it. The atmosphere and the whole Durban, it was an uprun. Durban comes to a standstill, and people are all talking the headlines, who's going to win. Such a wonderful atmosphere. And because he'd broken 3 hours, as you heard, there's different medal categories. If you can break 7.5 hours, you get a silver. And that's a seriously good run. You know, you can't stop really. You've got to go the whole way up those hills. And so he was going for a silver medal, and he's very excited. Then he went to the expo. He said, the expo, there's even a whole section for international runners where they just check in there and they're treated like royalty, and there's coffees and drinks and beer and everything for them. And he said, fabulous. And then on race morning, he said, "You've got no idea." He said, "I was so excited." And Comrades is divided into batches, like most of the great marathons in the world. So it goes from, A batch, who are the people who are going to win or break, seriously good times, all the way back to G and H batch, who are the slow, they just hope to finish. And so he said he's in A batch because he's going for a silver medal and he's so excited and everything. And they play, we play Chariots of Fire over and over again. We've stolen the song from the movie, okay, so it's ours. So they play it over, and then when Chariots of Fire ends, they play this traditional African song called Shosholoza, which is keep on going, I'm Baleka, I'm tired, keep on going. They play that, and when you start to get goosebumps, and then they put the national anthem in at some stage, or don't even try and sing it because it's 11 official languages, a line from each of them. And then they have, you heard Max Trimborn's Cockerel Crow. And that is the most astonishing moment in the race, because as you hear this cockerel crow echoing across the night sky, 2 seconds later, this cannon blast, the start gun's attached to a cannon, they go boom, so that the people back in H batch can hear, because they hear boom, and and nothing happens. Anyway, so it goes off so the cockerel crow and the gun goes. So this guy from Grimsby, and he's got his schedule written down on his arm for every landmark that he's going through, what time he's got to be. And as he took his first running step, someone trod on the back of his heel, and his shoe came off and flew right across the entire comrades field that is moving out of there like champagne exploding out of a bottle, And they being knocked around like a pinball. For the youngsters, pinball is a kind of a game. And you can see it bouncing around, and he's trying to get to it, but he's getting hit. He said by the A and B batch people who are moving out of his loose, it's like being hit. It's like being hit by springbucks. He said they're coming fast and they're hitting me hard, like the animal, the springbuck as well. And the people are saying to him, "You idiot, Peter Maritzburg's that way. Go that way." Anyway, so he tried to get to it, and he's having no luck. And he said that that's just as he's trying as hard as he can, he realizes here comes C and D batch. And he said, "Bruce, C and D batch, they're like wildebeest-sized people." Bang, bang. They're really hitting him hard and swearing at him and everything. And then he thought, you know what? I'll if he'd met Alex, he said, "I'll just take my other shoe off and run barefoot." To Peter Manson, he said, "I can't because my chip is on there. I want to get to that shoe." And at that stage, unfortunately, E and F batch started to move through. He said, "Bruce, they're buffalo size." And they're coming and they are angry because they feel they should have been a couple of batches high. He said, "No, buffalo's hitting me." He said, "At that point, I just gave up and I thought, that's it. I'm just going to sit on the side of the road and weep. Because my whole dream, years of saving, it's gone. Everything, my comrades is gone. I can't get to my shoe. Here come the buffaloes." And he said, and worse than that, he realized that after E and F, G and H batches are coming. And they're elephant size. And they've got attitude. So he said, that's it, he's giving up. And at that exact moment, he said, from the other side of the start, as the runners are pouring out in their thousands, he said this hand came up, holding a shoe. He said it was like Excalibur, or like the Statue of Liberty, but the flames burning. That's how exciting it was. He said, and this heavy Afrikaans voice from the other side shouted, "Has anybody lost a shoe?" He shouts from this side, "Yes, me!" And he said this guy battled his way through the elephants to get to him and handed him the shoe and said, "And this, my boy, is the spirit of the comrade." Thanks very much, guys.